Hello and welcome to another episode of the Browns Blitz. This is episode 18 and today is Tuesday, September 10th. Here with my co-host Sam Maddie. How we doing today, Sam?
It's freaking September. Can you believe that? It's September and today it was 97 degrees. What in the hell is going on?
I don't know, but I caught some flack yesterday because I knew how hot it was going to be, so I put a tweet out. I said, who's ready to trade their lawnmower in on a snow shovel?
Oh, God.
And apparently nobody is. So.
Oh, my God, I am. I would.
Yeah.
I love cold. I love winter and fall. Yeah, I hate heat. I just can't stand it. So.
Well, I was going to skip right over fall and go right into winter, I guess.
Well, that's fine. It's better than sweating my ass off all the time. It's awful.
Yeah.
But can you believe it's September? Can you believe that it's September?
It's the for as long as this year seemed like certain things, drug out, like getting to the first week of the Browns, regular season, which we'll talk about in a bit. The year itself has gone really quickly. It seems kind of strange, but when you really look at it that way, that's exactly how it feels. So it's been kind of an interesting, trying sort of week for us, but we have to kind of keep things in perspective because there are some people out there with some real problems. So we're gonna talk about a bummer of a game and some things that have been going on in our lives, but before we get into that stuff, we always like to talk about our Blitz beverage. And Sam, I'm going to let you lead this off. What are you drinking tonight?
Well, I didn't have time to grab some bourbon. That's what I wanted to. It was a rough day today. Those of you all that are following on social media can kind of understand that. But we'll clarify that later on. But just in general, it was a Tuesday. It was hot and work, and yeah. So today, I'm not drinking bourbon like I wanted to, but I am drinking again the Kentucky Ale Coffee Barrel Cream. Why, Sam? I don't know. I don't like coffee. It was the quickest thing that I pulled out of the fridge. It was cold, sounded good. I'm extremely tired. I didn't get any sleep last night. You coffee people know how that works. You need your coffee to stay awake. Blah blah blah. So here we are. Coffee Barrel Cream, and it's pretty good. I mean, it tastes good. So,
we're gonna turn you into a beer drinker, Sam. I mean, I know you're not going to give the bourbon up.
No, we're definitely not. So, I'm going to be drinking bourbon. I'm going to turn you into a bourbon drinker.
Well, I'm game. I probably need to try it again.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, but we need to work on that selection in your fridge too of the beer.
I mean. Yes.
You got to have at least a few kinds on hand.
If I was going to have any kind, I would have Coors Light because I like Coors Light like right after I mow. I think it tastes good. But I also like kind of summer stuff, maybe like a summer ale, whether it be Leinenkugel or Sam Adams. I'm not really a big Oktoberfest kind of guy. I do like Yingling, maybe sometimes I have to be in the mood for it. Other than that, No, I don't need any beer. I just need some bourbon. I'm not going to waste good money on beer when I could be buying bourbon. So, anyway, enough about bourbon. Rod, what is your Blitz beverage, which I'm sure is a beer?
It happens to be a beer, and
ironic.
I looked in the fridge. I just wanted something a little different tonight, so I'm drinking something that's not really representative of a 90-degree day, but just kind of felt like trying this one out. It's the Great Lakes Ohio City Oatmeal Stout, which if people follow me, I don't usually drink a stout. It just kind of sounded interesting tonight.
Stout?
Yeah, it's an oatmeal stout. So I usually don't go much past a porter or just a dark beer, but Great Lakes, everybody knows Great Lakes, their beers are good. They're pretty much, I don't think it matters which one you get. So this one's no exception. It's a pretty easy drinking stout, I've got to say.
Yeah, I need to go to like a beer education class because you've got like lager, stout, IPA, ale, all this different shit. I don't know what it is, and I don't really care. But I mean, I don't.
Well, I can teach you some basics, but there's stuff online, and I mean, to me, it just kind of there's if you pour it in a glass, you can kind of tell something about it. You know, the darker beers are going to be more malty, more like coffee, and if it says IPA, it's going to be more bitter. So if you like, yeah, more hoppy, definitely. Other than that, a lot of them you can kind of group together, and you know, your beer connoisseurs are going to know the difference between some of those things, but most people aren't.
But let's make it clear, they're probably like yourself. There are some beer snobs. Like I'm pretty sure if I like said, yeah, like when people are like, oh, Sam likes Coors Light, they'll be like, get the fuck out of here. Like Sam likes Coors Light. That's terrible. Like,
Well, I kind of sat back in my chair a little bit, but I know you're not a beer drinker, and Coors is kind of a very light beer. So, you know, if that's what you like, then I don't have a problem with it.
hey, at least it's not a watered down Mick Ultra. But I'm not gonna lie, like I like Mick Ultra too. So I don't
I
know.
I drink Mick Ultra sometimes. I don't have a problem with it.
I'm your basic beer drinker. Yeah, that's just all there is to it.
There you go.
Guys, Rod is the beer drinker here. I'm the bourbon. That's just what it is.
That's
So
right. I'm a drinker. You're an aficionado.
that's what it is. I have a fancier palate than
That's
you.
right. Yeah,
But oh, there's
I would
some
agree.
beers that are really expensive. Like my dad really likes this Dragon's Milk. You ever heard of it?
I've heard of it. Yes, yes, I've heard it's pretty
Gosh,
good.
and
I
it's
haven't had any of it.
for like a 4 pack is like $18. Oh my gosh, that's nuts.
I have some Chimay White in my refrigerator, and that's about the same price. But I
I,
bought that. I bought that at a store that was going out of business, so I got it for like half off.
I have heard of Chimay. I have.
Yeah, Chimay is right up there with the best beers in the world.
Is that Indian?
No, it's you might make me look stupid here. I think it's from Austria. It's over in that area, anyways.
I'm gonna double check that real quick.
If
Chimay.
I'm wrong, somebody's out there going, "Oh no, he doesn't even know where it's from." But um,
Hang on, it's pulling up
it
here.
Belgium, not Austria.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Is that
it's
your
Belgium.
final answer? It says Chimay beer. What kind? Hang on.
I have
It is Belgium.
Yeah,
It is.
Belgium. I
Yeah.
just spoke too quick on the Austria. I really didn't mean that.
All right. Well, we could talk about food. We could talk about beer, bourbon, whatever. Because I love talking about food. We could talk about that. But people aren't here for that. They're here to hear about our Browns Week 1 recap. And Rod, I know you and I spoke actually on Sunday during and after the game. You were out. Where were you?
I was at Elsa's, the bar just down. It's a Mexican restaurant, but the bar section is reserved for Browns fans, pretty much. So, so I was there with my father-in-law, and we went and had lunch and watched the game. It was a pretty packed house, and yeah, we all know what happened. So,
Yeah.
what can you say? I mean, great expectations. There really wasn't much of anything that went right in that whole game. There was a few times when I really started to feel like they had a shot, that they were turning things around, and then they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, even the missed extra point after the touchdown, you're like, uh-oh.
Right.
Because that comes back to bite you how often.
Right.
In the end, that really didn't matter, but it was that, and then Greg Robinson getting tossed, and then penalty after penalty after penalty, and then
We need to do that 15 other times because that's how many we had for 182 yards, Rod. 18 penalties. How we cannot win a game with 18 penalties? And I know you have a rebuke about that, and you want to talk about that, and obviously I saw the game as well and did think that some of them, the Titans weren't getting called and we were getting called, but I'll leave that up to you. But let's start off. People don't know, which if you don't know and you're listening to this podcast, you probably need to stop. Tennessee won at Cleveland 43-13. As Rod said, it started off well, but I was surprised Dontrell Hill he scored first. Like I thought that Nick
I was
Chubb.
surprised he was on the game.
Yeah,
What's he doing in there?
He scored at the 10-11 mark in the first. So there you go, 6-0. And like you said, here's Austin Seibert. We're all excited. We're at home, first game, energy at First Energy, and he misses.
Wide right.
And he misses. Yep. And Twitter absolutely exploded. Like, it was terrible. I'm sure the ground
cut him. Yeah, we need another kicker. We kept the wrong guy.
It was bad. And then somewhere, Greg Joseph was in a corner laughing, but whatever. Forget Greg Joseph. I'm an Austin Seibert guy, so I think he was just nervous, man. He's just nervous.
I think he was. I think a lot of guys are either nervous or just I just don't know. But
he made it up later. He was 1 for 2.
Yeah,
he was 50%, and I know that's not really good, but he was 50%. At least he didn't miss both.
Yeah, I want to give my thoughts on the penalties real quick because I had a tweet out and a lot of people agreed with me. Some people ripped the crap out of me because they thought I was whining and and being a quote unquote typical Browns fan, blaming the refs for the loss. But I just tweeted that.
Hang on, listeners, buckle up. Here we go.
Here's the thing, guys. When you have one team that has 18 penalties. Now, I'm not going to say that most of those penalties weren't earned because most of them weren't earned, but they were obviously calling the game pretty tight. Here's the problem. The Tennessee Titans had 6 penalties called on them. And you can go to Twitter, you can look at guys like Jake Burns who showed plays that Tennessee ran and Cleveland ran, and Tennessee didn't get called and Cleveland did get called. So here's the thing. When I see a penalty spread that's when it's a 3-to-1 ratio, I just feel like something's up.
To chime in, Tennessee had 6 for 54.
6 for 54. So yeah, almost 4 times as many yards. And we know what that did to the game. We know that all the penalties every time Cleveland would get something going on offense, they'd find them plays called back, and then at 2nd and 20, and they couldn't get anything going. Now, I'm not saying they were playing great. I'm not saying they deserved to win this game, but the penalties absolutely killed them. And when it's a 3-to-1 ratio, I can buy it if it's 18 on the Browns and maybe 9 or 10 on Tennessee, or 16 on the Browns and 8 or 9, something like that. But when it's 18-6, and there's clear evidence that there's things that are being called on the Browns that aren't being called on the Titans, to me, it's just like watching a basketball game. And, and everybody is always complaining about foul calls. Okay. That wasn't a foul. That wasn't a foul. Okay. Who cares? Okay. Who cares what the foul is? You want it called the same both ways. And if it's called the same both ways, we don't care.
I want it called for Cleveland's way.
Yeah, I mean, just call it straight up. And I don't think it was called straight up. And I think there's a whole lot of people that agreed with me. So call it straight up for us. Cleveland probably still gets beat pretty handily because they played like crap. But call it straight up.
I don't know, though.
18 penalty stuff.
Let me chime in here. So total plays, the Tennessee had 56. The Browns had 63. Possession time, Tennessee had 29 minutes and 18 seconds. The Browns had 30 minutes and 42. And, looking at the we led in passing yards for 244 over their 216. They had us in rushing by 21 yards, 123 to 102. But, Rod, like you said, you take away the penalties and we're right there. I really think it would have been a different game.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what you get so far behind because of those, that Baker's pressing later in the game, and those are the picks. And he had some bad throws. He didn't play great.
Right.
And the offensive line was obviously a major problem. We know that. I thought the defense, especially early, I thought the defense played pretty well until they got so worn out because they couldn't get off the field, and then they started giving stuff up.
I mean, we sacked them 4 times for 32 yards. They sacked us 5 for 41. Let's see what else. Yeah, I mean, we were good in the red zone. We were 100% in the red zone, 2 for 2. They were 3 for 4. So, the interceptions, the penalties, but every other category, we were right there in the game. So, Everybody that's freaking out. It was the first game of the year. Obviously, the hype was elevated. Obviously, me being a Browns fan, I know that. So our expectations were higher for everybody else, but we're going to be fine. I mean, can you agree with that, Rod? We're going to be okay.
I think they're going to be fine. They need discipline.
Wrong guy, and get rid of Austin Seibert, and and then all this shit about. I was seeing stuff about Sashi Brown again. I was like, what the hell is happening?
Wow. No, my wagon is firmly hitched to John Dorsey and Freddie Kitchens and Baker Mayfield, and that's not going to change. So I'm not concerned. It's one game. Anybody who is concerned that hasn't noticed the standings yet, take a look at the standings, guys.
Right.
Okay? Yeah, it's not that bad. All right.
And we weren't the only team that got beat by about 30 because the Steelers got their ass kicked. So
Steelers did. And what do you want? The Bengals lost by a point, okay?
Right.
Is that a lot better?
Right. It's wide open, folks. It's wide open.
It's wide open. And Baltimore,
they were playing the
Dolphins.
They were playing the Dolphins. Everybody knows that they're trying to tank, that they want to. They're terrible. They're terrible.
They're trying to have their own parade.
Oh my God! And I got so sick of hearing this week, or just from today and yesterday at work. Obviously we're talking about fantasy and everybody's like, "Oh, Lamar Jackson scored 5." Lamar Jackson was playing Miami Dolphins. Their defense is trash. Their team is trash.
That's why I played him in fantasy.
I'm done talking about it. I'm done. Lamar will do good. He's okay. They want to talk about those touchdowns. Well, when you've got Hollywood Brown going down the field, he's wide freaking open. I would be really, surprised if Lamar Jackson couldn't hit that throw or make that throw. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you be worried? Well, okay then.
Yeah, you got to make those throws.
When he's 10 yards past the secondary, I expect him to score. Anyway.
Yeah, everybody settled down thinking that the Ravens are going 16-0 and everybody else is going 0-16. It's 1 week, and the Browns really the biggest problem. I'm not going to say the biggest problem was the penalties. The penalties was a factor, guys, but the biggest problem was the lack of discipline. The Browns just they didn't play within themselves. Just the kick from Greg Robinson, which apparently he says later was not as bad as it looks. I'm not sure how, but he said it wasn't as bad as it looked. It looked like a kick to the guy's head to me.
Yeah.
That, and then seeing Myles Garrett get frustrated,
gentle poetry giant swinging.
Taking a swing, and it was early in the game, so these guys were jacked up. They were ready to go out and crush this other team, and the other team wasn't going to have any of it right off the bat. And instead of playing with them, they got a little frustrated. Yep. And Myles still had 2 sacks, and he probably got held 10 times during the game like usual.
Yeah.
Without a flag being thrown. He was held on one of the sacks. They declined the penalty. That was one time they actually called it.
Yeah.
So there were some good things, but most of it was bad, and they need to turn it around
more importantly, folks, it's a long season. We have 15 more games, hopefully more. This was the first week. Obviously, I'm on the hype too. And did I get some backlash and some shit for it coming into the office on Monday? Yeah, you bet I did. But I'm still a fan. I'm always going to be a fan, and I don't care if we had another losing season. I told somebody, I was like, oh my God, like what if we go 4-12 again? Like I will just be devastated. But you know what? I'd still be a fan. So that's just what it is. But let's break down just a little bit real quick of the specifics of the game. Let's talk about the passing first. Baker Mayfield was 25 of 38 for 285 yards. He averaged 7.5 yards per attempt or per completion. He had 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. He was sacked 5 times for 41 yards and had a QB rating of 64. Yeah, it's not good.
It's not good. And he looked sharp at some times, and he looked really not at other times.
I think he was holding the ball too long.
Well, especially behind the line he had.
Yeah.
He normally gets rid of it quicker, and he normally has more time. Let's face it.
Yeah. All right, that's passing. Next, we're going to go to the rushing, which, you know what? We're in the AFC North. Let's shove the ball down the other team's throat. Are you with me, Rod? I mean, that's Cleveland football, okay? We didn't establish and run the ball more, I don't know. Nick Chubb had 17 carries for 75 yards. Jarvis Landry had 1 carry for 10 yards. Dontre Hillard had 1 carry for 4 yards and a touchdown. Why didn't we run more? Nick Chubb was supposed. I don't understand.
I mean, average over 4 yards a pop. I mean, why? Yeah, they gave up on it too quick. They gave up on it while they were still in the game.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb should get more chances.
He's definitely a 20 to 25 guy or attempt a week for sure. Carries a week for sure.
He is. I mean, especially you have Kareem Hunt. At least we hope coming,
right.
in 8 weeks.
Right.
Let Nick Chubb tote the rock a little bit, man.
And Dontrell Hillard had a good preseason and offseason. I mean, he has shown that he's not just a third down passing back. You know what I mean? So let's use our backs there, Freddie Kitchens. I'd love to see the run. I would love to see Nick Chubb finish a top 5, top 10 running back for the year. Like he did last year. He was a top 10. So
he should.
Let's establish the run. I hope that next week when we talk for our Game 2 recap versus the Jets on Monday Night Football, that we talk about Nick Chubb getting over 100 yards and at least 1 touchdown. That's what I'm hoping for. So,
yeah, I would hope so.
And I'm not going to go over to obviously this was Odell Beckham's debut with the Browns. He had 7 receptions, 11 targets for 71. Jarvis Landry had 4 receptions for 67 yards on 7 targets. Rashad Higgins was in there. David Njoku was in there as well. Damian Ratley, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. But, I thought Odell did okay for his first game. Now, that interception that was thrown his way into double coverage was it Bayer that caught it? I think that's who it was for Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't remember on that.
It was a bad ball. It was thrown.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and Baker admitted that in the presser. Yeah.
But no, I think Odell did good, especially, with hip being a concern, saying that he couldn't really, quote unquote, open up and fully sprint. I think he did well. Like I said, 71 yards, averaged 10.1 yards a catch for 7 receptions on 11 targets. So I think he did well for his first game. Did he look frustrated to you? I think so. I think he did. I think everybody was frustrated.
Well, yeah, I think they were all frustrated. But I think one of the positives out of the game is what we saw from Njoku during the preseason and the fact that he had 4 catches in the first game.
Yeah.
I think that's something they can build on. So I was glad to see that part. Again, there's nothing great about this loss, but you got to look for something that they can hopefully build on, and I thought that was positive.
He's still missing those easy catches, though. That's what bothers me, and that was one of my takeaways. He's still missing those easy catches, and I read, and it shows that stats show that he catches the ball better in traffic. That's not a good thing.
It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't.
The time, but he should be. You've seen the guy; he's freaking huge. Catch the damn ball.
Yeah, it's just a lack of concentration.
Yeah,
which kind of was the theme of the day. Not so much, concentration and just these guys not playing within themselves, just getting frustrated, just being totally undisciplined. The penalties, just doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. That's what needs to change. If that changes, that's when they're going to play better.
Yeah. All right, to finish it out with week 1, let's talk about the defense. Joe Schobert led the defense in tackles. He had 9, 7 solo. Morgan Burnett had 6 with 1 sack. We had 4 sacks total, 1 from Morgan Burnett, 2 from Myles Garrett, as Rod said, and 1 from Larry Ogunjobi. And then it just dwindles down. Kirksey had 6, Garrett had 5, Richardson had 4, Randall had 4, Ogunjobi 3, blah, blah, blah. But, what really, really concerns me, Rod, is that Denzel Ward had 0. He had 0 tackles, and we saw, I don't know if you saw it, but he gave a piss-poor effort on that Derrick Henry 75-yarder.
On that one he did, and yeah, and he didn't look so good on a few other plays too.
No,
So yeah, he was
that's
not playing like the Pro Bowler that he is.
definitely.
So I would think that he's one guy who pretty much got his butt ripped or is getting it in the film sessions this week, and he better show up. He better show up next week. It's not like they're not going to play him, but
I mean, looking at the stats, Jarvis Landry had a tackle. Jarvis Landry had a tackle, but Denzel Ward did not have a tackle. That is the problem.
yeah, well, I agree with you. I agree.
All right. Well, Austin Seibert, like we said, went 1 for 2 for extra points, no field goals, and Jamie Gillen punted the ball 5 times for 233 yards total, with an average of 46.6, 3 inside the 20, and his long was 52.
He was good. He was good.
Hell yeah, I love the Scottish Hammer, and I can't wait to see how he continues to develop and what he brings to the team. So that's it.
Yeah.
Tennessee. Let's talk about Monday Night Football versus the Jets.
The Jets.
The Jets lost.
They lost to the Bills, and they were up most of the game, and the Bills came back and beat them by a point, 17-16.
Right.
And I don't know if you saw, but it sounds like C.J. Mosley and Quinnen Williams are both either out or questionable for Monday night.
I did not know that.
So there's that, and they also traded with the Patriots for Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah, I did see that. That happened today. Yeah.
Okay, so it's when I think about this game, you've got the Jets with a second year quarterback in Darnold.
He was 28 of 41 for 175. That's terrible.
Yeah, 1 touchdown, but no picks. He took care of the ball. So
he got sacked 4 times.
Yeah. But my thoughts on this game, you got a new coach there, young quarterback. You got a team who brought in some free agents, some high draft picks, team with some expectations. They're 0-1. Browns are 0-1. I think this is going to be a freaking war. I think these teams are both desperate for a win this week.
Well,
so
we'll be playing not only Le'Veon Bell again when he was with the Steelers, but we will be playing our defensive coordinator, Greg Williams.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. Who that benefits. I think the Browns players kind of know what Greg Williams does, but Greg, he's probably got some knowledge of some of the Browns players, but they've made a lot of changes on offense too.
Yeah, so but at the same time, Greg Williams also coached alongside Freddie Kitchens and also got to be around Baker and practice against him all year round. So
right.
So like you said, Rod, it's going to be a hell of a game. Monday Night Football, prime time. Can you believe it? Browns got prime time.
Yeah. The first of the next. I think they have 3 out of the next 4 weeks are prime time, because I think this was the first.
Yes. Yeah.
First, yeah.
So, all right, let's go ahead and give our predictions for the game then.
Oh,
I'm scared, dude.
You go first.
Oh, it's Monday night. It's in New York. I'm going to say the Browns win. Oh, and by the way, if you listen to our last episode, there was a safety in the game, wasn't there, Rod?
There was for the wrong team, but you did call that there would be a safety.
Yeah, definitely wrong. I called it for our defense getting the safety, but anyway, there it is.
All right. Here's the thing, Sam. Since you and I called almost the same score and you called the safety, I'm giving you the win.
Okay. All right.
I think it's only fair. The gentlemanly type thing to do.
You all heard it first. Rod's a gentleman. Sam's leading on the year 1-0. All right, against New York. God. I say we beat the Jets. So they put up 16 points. C.J. Mosley, I know, scored on a defensive touchdown on an interception return. Sam Darnold threw a touchdown to Le'Veon Bell. Oh, God, I really don't see them scoring more than like 17 points, if that. So I'm going to go the Jets are going to be 17 and we're 28. There it is, 28-17 Browns.
Okay. I like that. Yeah.
17 Browns. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'm really hoping this team straightens things out. I'm still not expecting them to have everything worked out. A little bit concerned about the O line. If Quentin Williams doesn't play, and CJ Mosley, that's gonna really, really help the Browns a lot.
Sure.
Definitely. So, I think it might be a little bit lower scoring. So, I'm going to say Browns 21 to, I'm going to say 16.
Okay. 21-16 Browns. You heard it first. All right. There's our week 2 predictions. We will be recapping next week for episode 19 on the Browns Blitz. Our podcast is recorded on Tuesday nights and will either drop late Tuesday night or Wednesdays. I think we kind of decided that we would do it Wednesdays just because we think that people could listen to it during, on their way to work or in the morning while they get everything.
Yeah, usually be pretty late on Tuesday. So yeah, Wednesday's going to be normal.
Gotcha. So you can also follow us on Twitter at the Browns Blitz. Thank you to all of our followers. I can't believe we have as many followers as we have. Our podcast has been really fun. I've absolutely loved the time that Rod and I have done it together, the podcast, and it's been really, really surprising how much support we have. So and that goes all back to the listeners. So thank you very much for that. And I'm sure Rod feels the same way.
Absolutely.
You can find us on Twitter at CleRodB. That's Rod, and I am at the Sam Mad. So, again, appreciate all the support, and we will jump into our next topic, which I'm sure the most of you all are listening to this podcast for. I left, and it has to do with BigPlay.com. I left BigPlay.com, I want to say, what was it, Rod, like 3.5 weeks ago? Something like that?
Yeah, that's probably about right. Yeah.
3.5 weeks ago. And Rod actually left this last Sunday.
Yeah.
So I guess we're going to talk about Big Play also. If you don't know, there's some stuff going back and forth. I don't want to go in all today. I'm going to say a statement, and then I'll give Rod the opportunity to give his statement as well. I'm going to be extremely professional about this. It will probably be very disappointing to some. Some people are probably wanting me to really lash out and slander, drop names, and really just, be demeaning towards Big Play or those who are associated with it. I'm not going to do it. It's not going to benefit anybody. It's not going to help me. It's going to make me look like an ass. Whether things may be true or not, it just doesn't matter anymore because I'm not there. And Rod's not there, and we're both moving forward, and it just doesn't involve us anymore. So that's not my style. Rod, what's your take on that?
It's the same thing. We each wanted to address this because we've been getting a lot of questions.
48 especially.
Yeah, people just wanting to know what happened, our thoughts. And rather than trying to answer 100 things on Twitter and give big, long statements on Twitter, we wanted to address it here. So, but yeah, it's the same thing. We each want to be able to kind of just talk about this once and then move forward. We both left, for various reasons, which, I'll get into mine here in a second, but we left, and because we wanted to leave, and because we wanted to not be doing that at this point in our life. So we want to be able to get away from that. We want to be able to move forward and not kind of keep going over and over and rehashing this stuff.
Very well put, Rod. Very well put. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to? I don't care.
You go ahead.
Okay. At BigPlay.com, my position started out let's just start from the beginning. And we're going to try to make this as quick as possible. We don't want to run through the whole history of anything. We're not going to be giving out every specific detail about every little thing. Like you said, a lot of questions have been raised and asked from, either in DMs or just on Twitter and tweets or whatever. We're just going to kind of cover the basics, talk what we want to talk about, address how it affects us or how we were involved, and just go from there. My position started out, I would have been with Big Play 2 years around December. I was just a Browns fan like everybody else, and in Ohio State, just Cleveland sports Ohio fan. And Dave at Big Play got in touch with me, asked me if I wanted to be a Browns insider to report for BigPlay.com. I agreed. I continued to go up the chain. I became I was in the merchandise department, and then I became the director of content, and then I became the vice president of the company, sitting right underneath Dave. During that time there, my responsibilities were to hire and manage all of the written content people that goes with editors, journalists, or graphics department at that time, which also led into our merchandise department. Over the time that I was there, I brought on 140 people. 140 people spread across the nation working remotely. It was a really cool thing. Rod can kind of elaborate. It was cool how everybody had at the time, we had one goal in mind. It was very family oriented. I know that some people will see that on Twitter. It was, and Rod can elaborate on that as well. It was very family oriented. It wasn't something that I tried to establish or put into place. It just happened. Everybody was there for the same reason. They love writing. They love talking about sports. I would say the majority were Browns fans and stuff, but just more importantly, everybody loved sports and they were behind what was going on. So a family environment, a family atmosphere was cultivated and developed, and that's what it was. So I spent a lot of time there, man. I worked really, really hard. I have a regular full-time job outside of this. I know a lot of people thought that Big Play was my full-time gig. That wasn't the case. So this was all done in my spare time. And just to kind of give you an example, every person that I brought on, and like I said, it was over 140 people, each call was at least 45 minutes long to kind of interview them, bring them aboard, get them situated, get them in contact with the directors or getting them set up on WordPress, which was our format we used for our website, whatever. It took a long time. So we also use Slack, and we got everybody so that they can communicate and we could be organized and efficient on, not making sure that we weren't duplicating articles, making sure we had good organized communication. So yeah, there was a lot of things to get taken care of. But yeah, I mean, minimum of 45 minutes. So, do the math. Just in bringing people aboard, 45, excuse me, times 140, that's 6,300 minutes I was on the phone. I mean, that's a lot of time. So, yeah. Anyway, my life got busier. My life got a lot busier. My full-time job, I'm a lot busier in the summer. I'm not going to relay exactly what I do, but my job is very demanding. I have a significant role where I am busy and people. I do manage people. I ran out of time. I'm the type of person that when I commit to something, I want to give 110%. I was able to do that at first, but when I honestly was hitting around the year and a quarter, year and a half mark, it just dwindled away. Absolutely dwindled away. Some other things happened. Decisions were made. I want to say we maybe went in a different direction than I thought the company was going. There was a lot of miscommunication. There was a lot of breakdown on different things. And it just started to kind of, for me at least in my viewpoint, it just wasn't worth my time anymore. Again, I'm not going to go into the specifics of it, out of respect for those who were involved or myself. It just wasn't working. To put put it point blank. It wasn't working. It wasn't worth my time anymore for what I was getting in return, and it was time to move forward. So that's what happened, and here I am talking to you now. So, like I said, a lot of people aren't going to like that. They wanted me to really drop names, be hateful, quote unquote, do what was right, and bring justice to those who deserve it. And you know what? I have a great relationship with every single one of the people that I brought on. And they'll tell you the same thing. And I'm sure if you follow me on Twitter, you've seen that. The support that I have, or the relationships that I've cultivated with people, they're not ones that ended when I left or when they left. They still are there. We talk. I've been ever since I've left, I've been in a lot of talk with people, even more so than when I was with the company. And that's just catching up. Seeing how everybody's doing, giving them explanations of why I left, yeah, it's awesome. So I met a lot of great people at Big Play, still have those relationships with those, care about those people a lot, tried to do absolutely what was right with the information and the guidelines and the direction that I was told to give and to go about. Yeah, so there's my point of view. Rod?
Well, I'll go back just briefly and say I was with Cleveland Sports Talk for at least a couple years. I'm not sure the exact amount of time, and it kind of a similar story to Sam's. You just kind of working your way up. I never really wrote anything to speak of, and just answered an ad on Twitter and started writing for Cleveland Sports Talk, and some issues happened there, and I kind of helped to resolve and some things there, and ended up being VP and at Cleveland Sports Talk, and doing a lot of work with the writers and just helping writers, kind of come up with ideas for articles and try to put content out that mattered, essentially. So, long story short, I got to know Sam through Twitter, and eventually we started doing this podcast, and we started talking about me joining Big Play, and I ended up joining Big Play in April of this year as the director of written content, and so he gave me a big responsibility. It was to work with a full staff of writers, which was probably at least twice as many writers as what I had at Cleveland Sports Talk. I think we probably had 50, 60, 70 writers, something like that at the time.
Correct.
So, and there again, I'm working a full-time job. Some months very much busier than others, but I really enjoy working with writers. I like writing, but there's something about working with people and helping them out and kind of, passing on some knowledge and stuff it's just rewarding for me. So, but same thing, there's a lot of time. So I made a phone call to every single writer when I started. So that's, again, 50, 60, 70 phone calls, and then great phone calls. There again, I'm not complaining, but the only issue is that it's a lot of time. So doing that and trying to monitor content, trying to resolve issues and everything. I pretty much went from Cleveland Sports Talk right into this, and it's almost like I've been working 2 full-time jobs for coming up on 3 years. So I'm not going to go into a whole ton of detail either, but it got to a point for me where I kind of saw the writing on the wall, and I felt like the effort and the time commitment wasn't worth what was going to come out of Big Play. And I thought this was a good time for me to take a little break from what I'm doing. So that's what I chose to do. Um, I have to say the writers at Big Play are top notch. There's some excellent writers uh, that just put out fantastic content. Just a pleasure to work with. Um, I really enjoyed everything I did there. It's just at some point in time, Sam and I, when he brought me on, we sincerely thought that this at some point was going to become our full-time job for both of us, and it became very apparent. I think before we both left that this had gone from being a possible full-time job to being purely a hobby thing. So at that point, that's kind of when we both, I think, started thinking about, well, do we have the time for this or not? And when your personal life gets to a point where it's so busy that you really don't have the time for it, it's a lot easier to drop a hobby than it is that's something that's promising you a bigger payoff, just a job. And, none of us, we didn't expect to become millionaires off this. We expected to hopefully get a job one day. So for me, that's kind of what happened. I think a lot of the other questions in that have been addressed on Twitter by other people. And I think that's about it.
And also kind of addressing some of those questions or statements that have been brought to surface. Rod and myself, and this was quoted by Dave at Big Play. Rod and myself were not in charge of the money given out to editors, writers, or anybody else at Big Play. Neither Rod or myself were vested into this financially. Dave is the sole one who has put money into this company at this time that I know of, and there's the clarification there. So at no time were either of us, and this falls more on me, neither of us were had a stack of cash and were divvying it out or pocketing it for ourselves. That never happened. I was given a pay scale or directions of how our writers or editors or whoever was to be paid, and that's what it was. That's what I told people. I think the biggest thing for me that was disappointing, I feel like I was put in a position where I was kind of made to look like the bad guy. And that sucks. And that really sucks. If there was ever a question about money or money compensation or whatever, it was directed to me, whether it be from Rod or two of the other directors, one being a graphics, one being one for the editorial department. It was directed to me. And all I could do was give the answer that I had been told to say or the information that we had discussed, and that's what it was. I didn't have anything else. So for the longest time, a lot of my frustration was, and I'll just put it point blank, is I look like an asshole. I look like an asshole. I look like somebody who was trying to cheat people, and
it's frustrating. Yeah.
I should probably not use the word cheat people. I wasn't. The things that were being said weren't making sense, and there was obviously a break, and there was miscommunication, and it was falling back on me. And I got sick of that. I remember some nights where I would just get off the phone with people, and I'm like, "What the hell am I doing? Like, why is this happening? Because I'm literally, this has nothing to do with me. I don't have any money in this company. I'm being compensated here a little bit, but I don't have any money to give. If it was up to me, everybody runs a business a different way. Maybe I would have ran it a little bit different than Dave, but that doesn't even matter. But yeah, it didn't matter. But it really sucked for me and was, I will say, a burden. And I remember having conversations with Rod about it, that I was made to kind of look like an ass. And honestly, I kind of just got sick of it, and I was like, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. And honestly, Rod can tell you that I just kind of shut down. I was off Twitter. I was off Slack. I really didn't participate in big play. I just kind of went MIA just because I was just done. I was mentally over it. My conscience was bothering me. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And yeah, Rod and I had outside conversations on the phone, and he knew that something was wrong. And honestly, it affected our friendship a little bit because I just ignored everyone. I just wasn't having it. And there was times where I remember Rod was like, "Well, I don't know if I did something to you or whatever, but." And I hate that that's my personality. If something's wrong,
you withdraw.
I don't like confrontation. I'm not a confrontational person. I'm not going to bring it out and try to start a fight, especially online or social media or whatever. I'll just stop. I'll just stop talking. Now, I mean, obviously, if I know that I'm right and I can justify it and whatever, yeah, I'll fight back a little bit. But it's just not my personality. But that is on my behalf. That was another thing that I was uncomfortable with. It was the position that I was in, and I just didn't want that anymore. I didn't want that for myself. I was tired of looking like the bad guy. Like I stated before, I talked to every single employee that Big Play had, and I would like to say I think Dave talked to everybody, but I don't know if he did. But I feel like he should have. And, Dave, if you're listening to this, I mean, I would tell you that too. And I remember telling you that on our Monday calls. I would say, you need to be in touch with these people. Dave's a busy guy. He's got a regular 9 to 5. He doesn't do this full time either. He has a family and kids and responsibilities. So yeah, I mean, obviously we all had to make time for this. I just got to the point where I chose not to because it just wasn't worth it to me anymore. And I was tired of the position I was in. I was tired of getting the phone calls, the questions, without being able to, most importantly, provide the correct answers.
Right.
Rod, do you think that's it? I mean, I think that's a pretty good way of summarizing it on my behalf. I was tired.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Ask these questions and not being able to give a good answer or reply I just think that's it.
Yeah.
So, anything else on the company? I mean, it was like Rod said. I mean, we really thought it was booming. We thought that we had a lot of talent. Every single person that came through that door, not door, physical door, but came through the.
You hired quality people. Yeah, they're
for sure,
yeah,
for sure.
Great.
Yeah. Came through that technological door. They were top-notch people, and I'll still say that every single person that we dealt with on a daily basis, and they were great too because they were doing everything we asked. They were they were reporting, they were writing, they were editing. So again, I know this will disappoint some, but that's Rod and I talked about it today. Yesterday, if we would have done this, you probably would be hearing a lot different from me. And I'm just speaking on my behalf. I was angry. I felt like I was thrown under the bus. Somebody that did put in all the time and the hours and to be what appeared to be thrown under the bus. It really rubbed me wrong. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna spill all, tell all, and we'll just have it that way. Like I said, I did that Periscope last night. I took it down afterwards because I did obtain some new information. I thought about it overnight, and I was just like, you know what? It's not going to do any, and Rod and I talked about it today on my way to work. It wasn't going to do us any good to slander BigPlay.com, try to tear down Dave or anything like that.
That's right.
We have our experiences. We have our, takes and opinions on different things that happen there, and that's up to us. That's our business. Now, I know that there's some writers and editors or different people, former, past, current, whatever, at Big Play right now that are dealing with some things, and you know what? I support them. And I've talked to each and every one of them, honestly, that has reached out to me. We've either talked on the phone, messaged, or whatever, mostly on the phone because I'm a phone talker. I think it's more personal. But I have their support, and I support them as well because, I honestly, and I think Rod can say this, they deserve their hard work deserves to be compensated. And that's just the bottom line. And I think Rod can agree and maybe can elaborate a little briefly on that, especially since he was over the writing department and saw all the work that they were putting through. And more importantly, is a writer. I'm not a writer. And knows how much hard work goes and is put into that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Yeah, I think most of the writers, I think, were pretty content. I think they understood the setup and everything. The setup we had with just the logistics of publishing articles and everything is fantastic. That Big Play, just coming from other places. So, I think issues, most of them were coming from other departments and other places, and we'll let those people take care of those issues. But it was really my pleasure to work with all of the writers, and same thing. I've talked to a lot of them since. Just great conversations. I'm not trying to get anybody to leave Big Play or to stay at Big Play. Everybody's got their own decision to make. And there again, we're going to support these guys and ladies no matter what they do.
I'm just trying to think what else. Rod, can we both agree that we feel that if you do the work, then you should get paid?
Yeah, I agree.
Do we agree that some people or some groups or some members of Big Play were compensated for their work?
That some of them were?
Yes.
Yes.
We think now, and I don't know this, do we think that they were compensated correctly?
Some people were compensated correctly, yeah, according to what was they were told they would be compensated, yes.
Right. Is there different scenarios for these individuals and different groups?
Yes, that's my understanding.
There definitely is. And I'm speaking in terms of just, let's speak about just me and Rod. I was in a VP position. Rod was a director. We were obviously compensated a little bit differently than a writer would be or an editor would be. Rod, do you still think that there are people that either are current or past Big Play employees that need to be compensated that haven't been?
It's my understanding that that's the case, yes.
Okay. I would agree with that as well. Yeah, I mean, is there any other questions or things that you think we need to address without just completely being...
I don't think so. I think we've covered it pretty well. I think we've said where we stand on things, and yeah, I really don't want to go digging any deeper than that. I think that addresses our situations, and that's kind of what we're qualified to speak on.
Yeah, and for us, Rod and I we're not affiliated with Big Play anymore. We're not. Our Twitters show it. We'll tell you firsthand that we're not. Do we stand behind the people that we encountered with and have cultivated relationships with? Yeah, 100%. And I think Rod does as well.
Yeah.
If there's a problem, here's the thing. If they called me and talked to me, I would do everything I could to get answers for them. I will say the information that I was given is what I addressed. It's what I told everyone. Nobody was different. Money was going to be based off views, clicks, interactions. That did change at some point throughout my tenure at Big Play, and the value amount changed. And at first we were using the Google ads, and that's how we were doing it, and it was based off of Facebook and Twitter. That did change at some point, and a new formula was created or developed or searched or looked into by Dave, and that's how the dollar amount was decided for the views or interactions or whatever it was. And see, I'm still, Rod, I mean, it was something on the lines of that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Rod, would you go back to Big Play?
Would I go back again?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think I would either. And not because that's based off a hostility towards anyone or individual or a group of people or bad business or practices or whatever. I think Rod and I have spoke about this. We just like being free. It's nice to be kind of, we're both kind of taking that independent route right now. Obviously, different groups and people have reached out to us on different, I'm sure for Rod, I'm speaking on my behalf of possibly doing something different. Right now, it's just nice just being me. I'm still going to give my fantasy football advice on live Periscope on Sundays. I'm still going to tweet about Browns game like crazy in Ohio State and Indians games. And I'm still going to post a ton of food pictures, and that's just me. And I don't have to worry about anything anymore. I don't have to worry about making sure I'm following, guidelines or making sure I'm not rubbing anybody wrong on what I post or tweet. And that's really nice. It's really nice to be able to do that. But I agree with Rod. At this time in my life, especially currently where I stand with everything and what I've seen, I would not at all. So
yeah.
You just get to a point, you experience something like this, and either you want more or you want to never be a part of it again. And Rod and I had this conversation over and over. Rod, would you ever want to be a part of something like this to this extent, or the positions that you had, the role that you played? Would you ever do this again?
I wouldn't say never, but I'm not looking to do that right now. But
right.
You never know. I wouldn't rule it out entirely.
It's just a lot of responsibility. I don't think people realize how much time is put in. It was so weird for me the first week after I quit that my phone just didn't go off. To the point where I almost thought it was broken, because I was like, I haven't received any calls, any messages. What the hell's going on? Because literally my phone was just going off like crazy every single day, all the time. I would have to put my phone on do not disturb at night because my phone would just be going off constantly. So
yeah, it's been different. It's been different. So.
It's been different, but it's been nice. And I would tell anybody that. And I'm sure that people that are in the midst or, have a sports media company or in the same thing, I'm sure you would be lying if you didn't say that it would be nice to be able to step back and take a break. You would be lying.
That's right.
Because it is nice not to have that responsibility and that kind of cloud, quote unquote, so to speak, over your head. So
right.
Again, this is our take, Rod and Sam, about bigplay.com. Again, like I said, I don't really care if I don't give what people want. I'm not here to please. I'm just here to give the truth and try to be as professional and just honest as possible. Is there more that I could share? Yeah. Would it really benefit me by, sharing everything, all the experiences that I had? No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't at all. It would just cause more drama, and that's something that I very much try to stay away from. Rod, do you have somewhat of a closing statement on that?
I think we've covered everything. I think we're kind of up against it, so I'm gonna let you wrap us up.
Gotcha. Guys, this has been episode 18 of the Browns Blitz, and it was the Browns Week 1 recap. Looking forward to hearing a recap every week until we're knocked out of the playoffs, and that's exactly what I said, out of the playoffs, or we win the Super Bowl. Until football season's over. Our episodes are recorded on Tuesday nights. Depending on when we can do it, we either try to drop it that night or most certainly the next morning. So it will probably go out tomorrow morning. I'm sure that people on Twitter, especially knowing that this is a big play, there was going to be some big play talk on here, are going to be wanting tonight. Sorry, you're going to have to wait till tomorrow. I'm extremely tired. I've had a rough day. Rod, he's just old, so he's got to go to bed early. Anyway, as always, thanks for your support. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at the Browns Blitz, and our Twitters are on there as well. Hope you all have a good rest of the week, and more importantly, guys, tomorrow is 9/11. Please do not forget about that major event that happened in our country and to the great United States of America. Don't forget those who were lost and gave their lives to help those during that tragic time. So, as always, remember 9/11. Rod, I hope you have a good rest of the week, and I will catch you next week for our Monday night football game recap.